Tonight, disgraced mogul Sean Diddy Combs still behind bars, held without bail, pleading not guilty to explosive charges, sex trafficking, racketeering, and transportation to engage in prostitution.
What's up, New York?
A year ago, Sean Combs stood in Times Square and was handed a key to New York City. Today, he's been indicted and will face justice in the Southern District of New York.
The once celebrated rapper was arrested by federal agents Monday night at the Park Hyatt Hotel in New York City. At the center of those charges, alleged freak-offs or sex performances that authorities claim were planned and recorded.
A word that has come up in this story, freak-off, what is that?
It is him having like sex workers or whoever come in and have sex with his partner, whoever it is, while he watches or participates or whatever. Yeah.
The indictment alleges that Combs abused and exploited women and other people for years, and in a variety of ways.
Sean Combs entered court, and when he first walked through the doors in the company of the U.S. Marshals, he didn't have any handcuffs on. He did look a little bit stunned as he surveyed the imposing federal courtroom. The only words Sean Combs uttered during the entire hearing were the words, "not guilty." Otherwise, he was nearly motionless, looking in large part straight ahead unless he had to directly talk to his lawyer.
We're appealing the decision to hold him without bail.
Combs' attorney denying all allegations and saying his client will fight the charges in court.
1, 2, 3.
Seen here in one of the last public appearances before his arrest, the 54-year-old greeting fans in the streets of his hometown in New York.
How's your dad doing?
His children seen in court today, supporting their father along with Combs' sister.
Mr. Combs is a fighter. He's going to fight this to the end. He's innocent. He came to New York to establish his innocence.
Federal authorities have been investigating the rapper for nearly a year, simultaneously raiding his home in Miami and Los Angeles this past March.
When the federal agents went in, they had their guns trained on some of Diddy's children. Defense attorney Mark Agnifilo said in court that that was a little scary for everybody involved, and it made Diddy want to cooperate. He was, almost as the lawyer described it, scared straight by that raid.
According to the indictment, law enforcement seized various freak-off supplies, including narcotics and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant.
They found a number of AK-47s, a drum barrel that's used to input large amounts of ammunition into a gun like that, multiple videos that we assume are associated with sex trafficking.
The indictment, just the latest in the stunning fall from grace for the rapper, who was once at the pinnacle of pop culture.
Sean Combs really represents how far your dream can go. And I think that his journey in a lot of ways represented that for a number of people. I think it's really hard for people because he was such, you know, like a bright light, like a shining star in the culture. And now what do you do with all of that?
One of the most influential figures in American music, an architect of modern hip-hop and R&B, who helped bring the genres to mainstream, consistently topping the charts with hits like Mo Money, Mo Problems, and I'll Be Missing You.
Notorious, they got to know that life ain't always what it seemed to be. Words can't express what you mean to me. I got a lot of things coming, but I gotta go now. Thank you very much.
He's a multi-million-dollar mega brand.
The man who launched so many careers and made Biggie an even bigger star.
You gotta come up in your waist, please don't shoot up the place. Wow.
The gatekeeper to one of Hollywood's hottest parties.
This is a guy who's dating J-Lo, fashion, alcohol, TV shows, political campaigns, vote or die. This is one of the most famous people in America over the last half-century. That is not hyperbole. Sean Combs is irreplaceable to American pop culture.
Now all crashing down. Officials say that since 2008, Combs had engaged in crimes including forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice, all to take part in numerous freak-offs.
The Southern District of New York actually defines these freak-offs as elaborate, produced sex performances that Sean Combs would orchestrate, masturbate to, and even record for his own pleasure.
The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time, involved multiple commercial sex workers, and often involved a variety of narcotics, such as ketamine, ecstasy, and GHB, which Combs distributed to the victims to keep them obedient and compliant.
According to the indictment, Combs manipulated women into participating in these sessions with male sex workers and also ensured participation by controlling their careers, leveraging his financial support, and threatening to cut off the same, using intimidation and violence.
To the defense, this was not any kind of sexual depravity or debauchery as alleged, but consenting adults showing intimacy.
The federal government is saying that this is a criminal enterprise, that this isn't just a crime perpetuated by one individual, but that a whole organization needed to work around this, not only in creating these freak-offs and these parties and these filming, but also to hide it from the public and law enforcement.
The indictment alleges that those individuals facilitated the freak-offs. They booked the hotel rooms and stocked them with the supplies, including drugs, baby oil, personal lubricant, extra linens, and lighting. When the hotel rooms got damaged, they helped clean it up. They arranged for victims and commercial sex workers to travel for the freak-offs, and they delivered large quantities of cash to Combs to pay for the commercial sex workers.
This investigation followed a lawsuit filed last November by his former girlfriend, Cassandra Ventura, better known as Cassie, that claims she was a victim of a pattern of abuse, violence, and sex trafficking by Combs. At the time, Combs denied all wrongdoing and said that settling was not an admission of guilt. Then, this disturbing video.
We're going to begin tonight with the alarming images now emerging of Sean Diddy Combs.
The new video obtained exclusively by CNN.
Diddy's flying through the hallway of this hotel, and he's so brutal. And Cassie is so small and just appears to be so broken. Like, there's a point where she just stays on the ground.
It's so difficult to reflect on.
Combs acknowledged his assault of Cassie in a message posted on Instagram days after the video surfaced.
I was up. I mean, I hit rock bottom, but I made no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video.
Cassie was not named in the new indictment, but that video references evidence of Combs' alleged control over his victims.
Combs hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims, at times by their hair.
Cassie is sweet. She's quiet. She's kind. She's a good person.
How's she doing?
She's okay. You can see what's going on. She's getting through.
Tiffany Red met Cassie in 2015 when she was hired to work on her album. By then, Cassie had been romantically involved with Combs for almost a decade. Together, they released hits like Me and You. Tiffany says she saw a much darker side to Combs. She was there the night of Cassie's 29th birthday party in 2015.
In Cassie's lawsuit, it said that Diddy supplied her and sex workers with drugs before and during these freak-offs. You ever personally witness Cassie under any influence?
The night of the party was a freak-off. He was saying, tell your girl she wants some birthday. That was a freak-off. That's where he was taking her. When he was cussing her out and she didn't want to go.
Since Cassie's lawsuit, at least 10 other suits have followed, according to the Southern District of New York. Combs has denied any wrongdoing in those. One of those lawsuits filed just last week by Don Richard of Danity Kane fame, whose hits like Damaged reaching the top 10 on the Billboard charts in the early 2000s. Richard accusing Combs, her former mentor, of sexual battery, forced labor, and gender-motivated violence. An attorney for Combs called the claims, quote, false, and said, Mr. Combs is confidently standing on truth and looks forward to proving that in court. In a statement today, Richard's attorney writing, this arrest seems long overdue. It's a big, moving day for victims, but an arrest is only the beginning. May justice be delivered to Mr. Combs. We implore other accusers to come forward in solidarity and join us in this fight. For now, Combs remains behind bars awaiting an appeal. He could face life in prison if convicted on all 3 charges. Federal prosecutors saying this indictment is only the beginning.
Well, anything is possible, and we are committed to making sure that justice is done.